Hello everyone and welcome to tutorial 6 using form tools and creating custom forms. First of all, we're going to be starting with the first part of the tutorial in session 6.1, in which our objectives are to change a lookup field to a short text field, view and print database documentation, create datasheet, multiple item and split forms, and to modify a form and anchor form controls in layout view. In this tutorial, we will be working with our clinic database, which has been uploaded for you to download and follow along. And in starting out with that clinic database, our customer wants us to add some controls and a subform to a form. We're going to be using combo boxes and calculate controls. We're going to be adding some color and special effects to a form. And if you don't recall from the tutorial, a text box is a control that lets users kind of type some entry into the form, and a combo box is another control that combines the features of a text box and a list box. It lets the users either choose a value from a list or type an entry. Remember, a text box should be used when users must enter data, while a combo box should be used whenever there is a finite number of choices to select from. So as we move through the tutorial into designing forms, previously we've used wizards to create forms, and we've modified a form by changing its design in layout view, which is one method of creating a custom form. To create a custom form, you can modify an existing form in layout view or in design view, or you can design and create a form from scratch in layout view or design view. Using this method is helpful for us because we can design a custom form to match some type of paper form we want to be able to have digitally to enter our data. And we can display some fields side by side or others top to bottom to highlight certain sections with color or to add some visual effects that we think are needed for that form. So just as the tutorial has done for us for our customer, whether you want to create a simple or a complex custom form, just planning the form's content and its overall appearance is always the first step in preparation for a custom form. Okay, to get into the action of the tutorial here, we are in our design form section. We're going to go ahead, and the first set of instructions we're going to complete are to change the data type of the invoice item ID field in our clinic database. And those instructions are here. So let's go ahead and get into our clinic database and get started. With our clinic database open, let's go ahead and open up the navigation pane, which you can see is already done here. And we were going to open the billing table in design view and then close the navigation pane. Alright, now we've got that completed. We're going to go ahead and click the invoice item ID field name box, and then we're going to click the lookup tab in the field properties pane. Okay, now we have the right one there. Let's go ahead and click on the invoice item ID. Now let's click on the lookup tab down here. Now with the lookup properties for the invoice item field being displayed, look down here and notice the row source property. And this specifies the data source for a control in a form or report for a field in a table or a query. The row source property is usually just set to a table name, a query name, or an SQL statement. Now, if you haven't heard the term SQL before, SQL is just a standard language for accessing databases. It's pronounced SQL sometimes, but it stands for Structured Query Language. And essentially it is just a special purpose programming language designed for managing data held in a relational database management system. But don't worry, we'll get more into SQL later on. But for now we want to remove our lookup feature for the invoice item ID field, which we will need to change the display control property here, which specifies the default control used to display a field. And we're going to change it from a combo box to a text box. So go ahead and click the right side of the display control box and then click text box. And after doing that, you will notice all the lookup properties in the field properties pane have now disappeared, and the invoice item ID field changes back to a standard short text field without lookup properties. So let's click back on our General tab here in our Field Properties pane and notice that the properties for a short text field still apply to the invoice item ID field. Now go ahead and save your table. Let's switch to the datasheet view. We're going to resize the invoice item column to its best fit, because you know how I am about that. And then click one of the invoice item boxes. An arrow does not appear in the invoice item box because the invoice item ID field is no longer a lookup field. Once again, go ahead and save the table and then close the billing table. Go ahead and switch to datasheet view. Go ahead and resize our invoice item. There we go. And if we click into any of these boxes, you will see, just as we expected, that the field is no longer a lookup field. Let's go ahead and save the table. And then close our billing table. Okay, now let's go ahead and view the table relationships to make sure that the tables in our clinic database are related correctly. So to do that, here are the steps we're going to perform. Let's go ahead and jump back into our clinic database and perform these steps. Alright, with your clinic database open, go ahead and go up to the top ribbon here and click the database tools. Then go to the relationships group here, and we are going to go ahead and click on the relationships button. And now we have the relationships window open. Let's go ahead and establish a one-to-many relationship between the invoice item table and the billing tables. So we'll go ahead and click the relationship line between the invoice item table and the billing table to open the Edit Relationships dialog box. Alright, with our Edit Relationships dialog box open up, go ahead and click the Enforce Referential Integrity. Now we're going to click the Cascade Update Related Fields box, and then go ahead and click OK. Now you'll see that we've created our one-to-many relationship between the two tables, and that we have enforced our referential integrity between the two tables. Next, let's move into the printing database relationships and using the documenter section here of our portion of the tutorial. The steps we are going to be performing here, starting on page 307 and continuing on. And then finishing up here on 310. Let's get back to our database and get started. Back into our clinic database here, go to the Design tab, and then in our Tools group, we are going to click the Relationship Report button to open our relationships for the clinic report in Print Preview. So let's go ahead and click that now. And you can tell by the tab here we are in Print Preview. Now we're going to right-click on the Relationships for the Clinic tab here, and we're going to click Close to close the tab. And you'll notice that we are being prompted now if we want to save our report. Go ahead and click the Yes button. And we're just going to go ahead and keep the default name, Relationships for Clinic. So go ahead and click OK. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and close our relationships window here. And next here on the ribbon, we're going to click the Database Tools tab. And then the Analyze group, we are going to click on the Database Documenter button. And then we're going to click the Tables tab, which should be by default opened up. Okay, let's go ahead and click on the Visit Tables. And then we are going to click on Options. Now you will see the Print Table Definitions dialog box brought up. Go ahead and confirm that all three options are chosen for Include for Table. And then next in the Include for Fields, we're going to select the Names, Data Types, and Sizes option. And at the bottom for the Include for Indexes, we're going to select the Names and Fields option. Go ahead and click the OK button. And once we're in the documenter, go ahead and click OK again. Now that you will see that we have the object definition report open up in print preview, and we're going to go ahead and click on and kind of zoom that in by going to the print preview tab. Next we are going to go into the zooms group, and we're going to click the zooms button here. Next, let's go ahead and just click to zoom to 100% to be able to actually read what has been created for us. As always, to allow us to have more viewing space, we can hide our ribbons by just double-clicking on them. Now, after you've examined the report, just go ahead and click on the print preview again. And we are going to save this as a PDF file. So in our print preview tab here, let's go down to our data group and let's select the PDF or XPS. Go ahead and click it, and now you see we have the ability to change our file, save it as a PDF file. Go ahead and type in the file name clinicdocument.pdf. We don't really need to type the .pdf because that file extension will be created after the file is published, because we already have that being saved as a PDF. So go ahead and hit publish, and your PDF file is being created. Let's go ahead and close that. And if you're prompted to save these steps, there's no need to do that. In the e-text, it asks us to print the documentation if needed. Obviously, there's no need to print that, but I would like you to attach your completed PDF file in Blackboard this week so that I know you completed those steps. Thanks. Okay, the next section in our tutorial 6 we're going to move into is creating forms using the form tools. And you will find the steps for this here, starting on page 311 in your e-text. Okay, once you've reviewed the steps, jump back into your clinic database to complete these actions. Okay, once you're back in your clinic database, go ahead and make sure that your visit table is selected. Then we're going to go up to click the Create ribbon. Alright, once you've selected the Create tab up here on the ribbon, go ahead and scroll over to your Forms group here, and then in the Forms group, we're going to click on the More Forms button. And then from there, we are going to click Datasheet. Now our Datasheet tool creates form showing every field in our visit table in the datasheet format. It looks like the datasheet view for the table, but if you'll notice, it does not have the expand buttons at the beginning of each of our rows. You should be able to look at figure 6-7 in your e-text and see that what we've created looks just like what they had as an image in the e-text. Go ahead and notice here on the status bar here, we have both views available to us, and that our default name has been given the same as our table. So even though we could leave the name the same as our table, sometimes that might create confusion. So we're going to go ahead and save the form as the name Form Visit Datasheet. Once you've got the name typed in, go ahead and click OK. Should make sure that you have the F there, since I did not. And you can go ahead and close your form. Next, we'll move into the section for creating a form using the Multiple Items tool. And we'll go ahead and go to our e-text and look at those steps now. So you'll see the steps listed here on 313 and 314. Let's go ahead and go into our Clinic database and get to creating a form using the multiple items tool. Okay, with your visit table selected, let's go ahead and click on your Create tab again. Go to our Forms group. Let's click on the More Forms button, and then we'll click Multiple Items this time. Once that's selected, you'll notice that the Multiple Items tool creates a form showing every field in the table visit and opens the form in Layout View. You'll see an example of this to match up against what you created with figure 6-9 in your eText on page AC313. You should be able to notice right away that the new form that was created displays all the records in the fields from the visit table in a format similar to a datasheet, but the row height for every record is increased compared to a standard datasheet. Unlike a form created by the datasheet tool, which has only datasheet view and design view available, a multiple items group or a multiple items form is a standard form that can be displayed in form view, layout view, and design view, as indicated by the buttons on the right side. As you can see all three of those. Now on our Design tab, let's go ahead and click the View button arrow, just so you can kind of glance around and see the different views. Once you're done looking around at the different options there, let's go ahead and save this form as Form Visit Multiple Items as described as our last step for this section. And your name should look just like that one. Go ahead and click OK and close your form. Now we'll move on to creating a form using the Split Form tool and look at those instructions now. Alright, here are the steps we will use to create the form using the Split Form tool. Let's go ahead and go back to our database, and we're going to once again click on the Create tab on the ribbon. Okay, with your visit table selected and your Create tab opened up, let's go ahead and go to the Forms group. We're going to select More Forms again, and this time we will select our Split Form. For this one, you can go ahead and minimize your navigation pane here, so you can view everything that you want to there. And you'll notice that the Split Form tool created a split form that opens in a layout view and displays a form with the contents of the first record in the visit table here being displayed on top, and a data sheet of the first several records in the visit table down here at the bottom. Now when you create this type of form, the position of the form in the layout view will either be a single column or two columns depending on the height of the access window when the form was first created. If you have a two-column layout, that won't affect your ability to complete the steps that follow. So let's go ahead and look at those steps now. Since we've created it, now we are going to head and modify a split form in our layout view. And you'll see that we have several steps followed to modify our form in our layout view, starting here on page 315. Continuing over all the way here to page 319. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. So once we're back in our database, let's go ahead this time and click on our Arrange tab in our Form Layout Tools. Look at your options you have listed here. And from these, we are going to click on the Layout selector, which I need to scroll up so you can see. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, and that selects all of our controls. You can easily notice that they've all been selected based on the orange boxes that have all been created. Now that you know how to select them all, we're just going to select one. We're going to click the Visit Date text box, which is the data visit field that you see here. We will actually select the value text box there. So this is the visit date text box. And with that box selected, let's go ahead and hover over here till you see you have the double arrows, and go ahead and drag that over and release it to see that we made changes to all of the text boxes in our form here. Now when you're doing these resizing, if you happen to come too far over where data is not able to fully display, you'll notice that your data gets changed with a bunch of number signs. So if you see that, just to go ahead and expand back to the right some. Next, let's go ahead and move and resize the reason and comments controls. So we're going to click our reason text box, then we're going to hold down the control key, and then click the reason diagnosis label, and the walk-in label, the walk-in checkbox, the comments text box, and the comments label to select all 6 controls, and then we're going to release the control key. Make sure to hold the control button. And you can see that holding the control button just allows you to select multiple fields together as one. And now you can see you have all 6 of these controls selected as one group. Next, let's right click here, and we're going to select layout, and then we're going to choose the remove layout. Go ahead and click that. Now we have removed the 6 selected controls from our stacked layout. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and drag these 6 controls up to the right until the tops of them are aligned with the top of the visit ID controls. So since they're all selected, we can treat them as one group and meet them up here and release them. Let's go ahead and move our walk-in and our walk-in checkbox back on over, and we're going to put it underneath the data visit. So we're going to deselect, then we're going to select walk-in, we're going to hold a control button, we're going to grab the checkbox, and now we're going to drag it back over and align it right under our other one. So I'm off here a little bit. So let's just move it over just a little bit there. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and resize our reason diagnosis and comments text boxes. So let's go ahead and click on the comments label. Hold it down. Then we're going to click the control key. And let's click the comments text box here. So with that selected, let's go ahead and drag these down a little bit to expand that. And we're going to go ahead and drag over so that kind of expands that as well. Sorry, let's just click the comments text box there. Expand that a little bit. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here with our reason text box. Expand it a little bit and drag it over so we have enough room. Get those lined up as best you can, and you should see that your finished product is similar to that of figure 6-14 in your eText. Once again, let's go ahead and click on our layout selector. And you can see I just selected one box and that brought it up, so we'll go ahead and click that. Now this only selected those 6 controls because those are the controls that are left in our stacked layout. Now we're going to click the Arrange tab. Then we're going to go to our Positions group here. Now let's click on the Control Margins. And let's select Medium. And you can see the adjustment that was made right away. The text inside our stacked layout controls kind of moved down just slightly. Next, let's go back into our Arrange tab there in our Control Margins. We're going to click Wide to see that change too. And you can see how our text now looks a little off. Let's go ahead and try a couple more. Let's go back in here. Control Margins, let's select None this time. You see the change made. And the final one we'll try is Medium, just to see the last one. There we go. Now you can see all the effects that have happened by using the control padding button there. Let's finish this off just by going back in and changing that back to narrow. And that's the final step for the section. Now we're going to go ahead and move into anchoring controls in our form. Now as we move into anchoring controls in our form and looking at these steps, these will be the last steps we'll perform to complete session 6.1 of our tutorial 6. You'll see these steps over the next couple pages. Once we complete that, we move into the next session, which will continue our work with our form. So let's go ahead and jump back into our database and get these steps completed to finish out our session 6.1. First of all, let's go ahead and save our form here. And we're going to save that as form visit split. Go ahead and change that name there. Hit OK. And you can see the name get applied immediately. Now, you can't anchor individual controls in a control layout. You can only anchor the entire control layout as a group. We already removed the reason, diagnosis, walk-in, and comments controls from the stack layout. So you can anchor them separately from the stack layout. You'll have 4 sets of controls to anchor. The stacked layout is one set itself. The reason, diagnosis controls are in the second set. The comments controls are the third set, and finally the walk-in controls make up that fourth set. First, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select and anchor the walk-in controls. So let's go ahead and click on the walk-in label, and then go ahead and hold down the control and select the walk-in checkbox. Then we're going to go up to the Arrange tab in the Position group, and we are going to select the anchoring button to open up our anchoring gallery. Okay, let's go ahead and make this so you can see all of the options here. You should be able to see the top left, stretch down, bottom left, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and click on the bottom left option here. And then we're going to click, once we've done that, we are going to go ahead and click our reasoning. Let's go ahead and set reasoning to top right. And you can't see it on mine, but I can drag it over here for you. There we go. Sorry about that. Let's undo that and select. I'll go ahead and hit undo, bring it back over, and select the text box here. And instead we will choose that one to be our top right. You can see instantly how that pulled that to the tight wrap corner of our form margins there. Go ahead and select your comments text box there. And for this one we are going to click the bottom right option. Drag it over just a little bit more. Bottom right. and it aligned it to the bottom right of our available margin there. Now that we've made those changes, let's go ahead and next we're going to increase the height of our form to kind of simulate the effect of a larger screen for our form. So let's go ahead and open up our navigation pane. And let's go down here and select our bottom border till we see our double arrow shape. And then drag down until only we see the column headings of the first row for our data sheet. It should look something like that. It also depends on the size of your screen that you have available as your workspace as well. When you look up at your controls, you can see that as we change the size, our controls stayed anchored to where they need to be, to the top right here for like our reason, and to the bottom right for our comments, and you can see the big gap here in between our stat group and our walk-in, as this has been anchored to our bottom left. You can kind of compare that to figure 6-16 on your e-text and see how, make sure that yours looks like mine here in the video as well as that with the figure. Next, let's work with our comments text box again. Go ahead and make sure if it's not already selected that you select it. And we're going to go to the comments, or I'm sorry, we're going to go to the anchoring button. And let's go ahead and pull this back down. Let's go ahead and click stretch down and right. So the one you're going to choose here. If I can get it all on the screen here for you. Stretch down and right. And there we go, we've got that selected now. Now you'll notice once you make that selection that we're already as far as we can go over here to the right. So what it did allow was that it can stretch up while leaving our label in place here. So that allowed us to increase the height of our text box. Now that we've finished our changes to our layout here in our split form, let's go ahead and save our form. And then we can go ahead and close this form now that we're done working with it. That will conclude session 6.1, and next we'll move on to session 6.2 here in tutorial 6.